Okay, guys, now that we have completed the warm-up and gone over it together, we have a pretty clear understanding of what our focus is for the day. Let's move on with some notes. So I need you to follow along. I need you to write things down and make sure you are with me while we do this. If you have any questions, we can get to those as soon as you finish the video. Jot yourself down a note so you don't forget what you have to ask. Feel free to pause the video at any time and go back or get yourself caught up before you begin again, okay? So let's get started. Here we go. So our first problem, let me get that a little, oh goodness, sorry y'all. Let me get this a little straighter. Our first problem here is going to deal with Aaron and Alice. So looks like these guys are bowling. And Alice's score is twice the difference of Aaron's score and 5. The sum of their scores is 320. We're going to find each student's bowling score. So let's talk about the things that we know already. We know that all together, because they said sum, so which operation would that be? Sum would be addition, correct? So we know that if we add Aaron's score and Alice's score, it's going to be a total of 320 points, okay? We need to know how can we represent Aaron's score and how can we represent Alice's score in a way that can be added together. So we're going to have to choose variables that are going to represent their scores. And we know that Alice's score is twice the difference of Aaron's score and 5. So let's let Aaron's score be A. We're going to use a lowercase a for Aaron's score. Okay? If Aaron's score is A, Alice's score has to be twice the difference of Aaron's score and 5. So let's break that down. Difference would be what operation? Difference would be subtraction. So we need Aaron's score minus 5, and then we need to double that because it's twice that. So we have A minus 5 doubled. Now, something that's critical here is that we are going to have to use parentheses, okay? If we just do A minus 5 times 2, we have a completely different scenario. Remember your PEMDAS, your order of operations, and keep that in mind. We have to work these problems in the correct order, and we have to make sure that what we write down is what we actually want done. If I write this down, we know in PEMDAS that multiplication comes before subtraction. So this problem would be A minus 10. And that is not what we said. What we said was Aaron's score minus 5, all of that doubled, so multiplied by 2. You can see that is very different than this, okay? So be real careful and make sure you use parentheses when necessary, all right? So now that we have these parentheses, what property are we going to have to use to solve this? Anybody remember the property name? It's called the distributive property. Good. So that means I need to distribute or spread out this 2 to everything inside of the parentheses. And I know y'all spent a lot of time in 8th grade math taking care of this, so I'm sure you completely understand, but just a quick review. Remember, your parentheses are like walls, and everything inside the walls is going to need to get multiplied by that 2, okay? Now, the subtraction is what breaks up our terms, all right? And that was reviewed a little bit in our warm-up. We talked about terms. So A is one term and 5 is one term because they are divided by either an addition or subtraction sign, okay? So my 2 needs to be multiplied by my A, and my 2 also needs to be multiplied by my 5. And we got to keep the sign with whatever term it goes with. And the sign in front of the term is attached to that term. So this minus sign or negative sign, because they are interchangeable, goes with this 5. So we're going to say 2 times A is 2A, and 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And we have now simplified this. And what is this 2A minus 10 representing? Well, if we look back at the problem, we had Aaron's score. And let me scooch that over a little bit so y'all can see better. Aaron's score was just represented by A. But Alice, her score was twice the difference of Aaron's score in 5. Her score is going to equal up to this or this once it was simplified, okay? So the 2A minus 10. And now the final piece of information that we have is that their scores together, the sum of Aaron's score and Alice's score, is 320. So now we can put this all together. So we can say Aaron's score plus twice Aaron's score minus 5 is equal to the 320. And now we know from what we just talked about that that will have to be distributed. And then we will simplify from there. How do we simplify? Well, one of the first steps and main steps is that we will combine our like terms. If we have any terms that are what we call like terms, and the definition of like terms, this is very important, is same variable, our variable in this point is A, raised to the same power. So these are both A to the first power. If one of them was A squared or A cubed, they would no longer be like terms. So the definition of like terms, again, is they have the same variable raised to the same power. And in this case, that's what A to the first and A to the first. So I can combine them. What is the coefficient on this A? Well, the coefficient here is really 1. And if you ever want to write that 1 in to help you, you can. But you'll see that 1s are not written in a lot of places in math. So we have a 1A plus a 2A. That gives us a 3A. Minus 10 equals 320. Okay? And now in order to solve this equation, we know that both sides of the equation must be balanced. We know that anything we do on one side, we must do on the other side. And we know that we use inverse operations if we're moving something across the equal sign. Therefore, we have a minus 10 here. In order to move it, I need it to become a 0 on this side so that it stays equal to this side. If I do it here, I have to do it here. This leaves me with only the 3A equal to 330. All right? And here we have 3 times A. This is multiplication. The inverse operation of multiplication, or the opposite, is division. So I need to divide both sides by 3 because what that does is make this a 1A, which was our goal. Our goal from the very beginning was to get A by itself. That gives me 110. So go back and think, what did A represent? Well, A represented Aaron's score. So what did we just find out? We found out Aaron's score. So Aaron's score is 110. That means Alice here, she scored Aaron's score, which is 110, minus 5, then doubled. So to solve this, we do 110 minus 5, which would give us 105, and we multiply that by 2. 105 times 2 is 210. So in the end, we want to be very clear. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We need to be very clear that we understand what we found. Okay, we always need to know, like, I know what I just found. So I just found that Aaron scored a 110 and Alice scored a 210. So she is the winner.